Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Dev with Excel. Alright, so in this video we are going to be solving exercise 2.10, which we have here. Okay, so here we have exercise 2.10. In the previous video we solved exercise 2.9. Here we were expected to implement a search field such that we can filter out a name or names that contain the text written in the search input. All right, so here we are going to be solving exercise 2.10 in this video. That is step 5. And it says if you have implemented your application in a single component, refactor it by extracting suitable parts into new components. Maintain the application state and all event handlers in the app roots component. It is sufficient to extract 3 components from the application. Good candidates for separate components are, for example, the search filter, the form for adding new people to the phone book, a component that renders all people from the phone book, a component that renders a single person's details. The application's root component could look similar to this after the refactoring. The refactored root component below only renders titles and lets the extracted components take care of the rest. All right, so having said that, inside the app component, which is a root component, we are expected to do something like this, right? So here we can see that we are going to be, we need to create a filter component. We need to create a person form component. We also need to create a person's component, right? Though it doesn't need to be exactly like this, but I think it's better we make it like this. All right, so let's head into the code implementation. All right, so let's go to the browser to be very sure that the code at this stage, which it does exactly what is being expected for the last video. So here, let's write A. Every name here has A, so every name is returned. Let's type R next. So here we can see AR in Ato Hellas. Here we can see AR in Mary, right? So our code still works at this point. Let's try to add a name. Let's call it, let's call the name Orange Lemon. Assuming there's a name like that. So the number I want to pass into it is 98743. So let's add this. Okay, so even up to this point, our code works very well. And we can even search for this name. Let's type L, then E. We have orange lemon because here we have L and E here. All right, so let's update this code for exercise 2.10. So I'm going to minimize this and then also do the same here. All right, so we are going to be more concerned with the app.jsx. Every other file is here, I think. Okay, yes, the app.jsx and also the components folder here. So here we are going to be creating more components here. Okay. Okay. I don't think we need to create more component files here, right? Rather, we are going to be creating components in the app.jsx, right? So I don't think we are writing any new file for now. Okay, so in the app.jsx, let's go back to the instruction here. We have phone book at the top. Let's go to our code and let's have phone book at the top, which is this in H2. So the next we want to have is a filter component, which is something like this. In fact, it is this. So let's go to write the filter component. So we come here and say const filter, then we do something like this. So the next thing we want to do is we want to write this filter shown with, right? So what we can just do is we can just copy this entire part of the code here, this div here. Let's cut it, and then why do we have search person? Okay, I think search person is part of what we have there. All right, so that should not be a problem. So we come here and then we use the return keyword. We say return, and then inside this we put this. All right. So the next thing we need to do is, since here we have this as a parameter, more like an argument that gives a value, right? We are supposed to pass this into this filter component as parameters, right? But destructured. So we are going to be doing something like this, and then we copy this and then paste it here, and then do the same for handle search person. We copy that and we paste it here. Let's see what happens to our code. Okay, so for now we don't have the search input field, right? So what we need to do next is we need to copy this filter component. Sorry, need to copy it and then come into this return part here and then do something like this and then paste filter. Let's save this and see. So we can see that currently we have this showing, but I don't think it's effective right now. Let's type A. It's not effective right now because we need to work on this search person. We can see that there's a kind of warning here for search person, and that's because we need to come down here and pass in the props here. We can see that filter has two props here, the search person and the handle search person. So we come down there to implement that. So we are going to be writing the search person equals, now this is going to be equal to what? Still the search person as a value. So let's copy this and then let's paste it here. Now this is so because the search person here, like I said, is a props in the filter component, and also the handle search person here is a props in the filter component, right? So their values are equal to themselves, meaning that here this value here, it represents the search person that we have here as a state, right? So we are also going to be including the next props, which is the handle search person, I believe. Let's go back. Yes, the handle search person. So we copy this code and then we paste it here, and this is equal to the same handle search person function, which is this, right? So this now is more like a value, right, which is being passed into this attribute. But we understand that these are event handlers, right? This is acting as an, okay, all right. So let's save this and see if our code works well. Let's type LE. L is returned and then E is returned. That gives us orange lemon. So our code works very well. We've been able to write a component for the filter. Then we are going to be writing a component for the person form next, which is this form. We are going to be writing a component for this form. All right, so before then, let's be sure that we have add a new in the h3 tag. So what we can just do is we just take this part of the code and then place it above this form. So something like this. Yes, and then we change this h2 to h3. Also, let's change this small a to big A. All right, this is saved. Let's see what is rendered on the browser. All right, so here we have add a new, just like we have it here, add a new. So next we want to do is we want to write a component for the form. So this entire form here is going to be having its own components. So what can we do? Let's go to the top of the code and then let's write a new component. Let's call it, let's borrow a name from the instruction here. Okay, so this is called person form here. So let's just copy this and give it person form here. All right. So let's write the return statement. And then inside this return statement, let's write a div. So inside this div, we are going to be putting the entire form we have here. I hope that works out fine. So let's copy this form here. In fact, let's cut it and then let's paste it here. Let's save. All right, so now we have this entire form in this, right? Now we can see that we are having a lot of warnings here, meaning that we are working with some arguments that are not passed in as parameters here. So we are going to be doing that one after the other. All right, so let's copy this add name and then let's paste it here. This structured, that's wrapping them with the curly brace. So I put that there, and then the next is to put the add name. Then next is the handle name change. You can see that the lines are gradually going off. Then this next one is the new name. And then I think the last one is the handle number change. All right, let's save this. All right, so we have this, and then the next thing we want to work on is this person form to be placed inside as a props here. Before doing that, we need to put in the person form component here. So let's go and copy the name of the component, which is person form. Let's copy it and then let's come here to this part and then let's paste it here and do something like this. So let's save this. Okay, so we can see that here we have the person form here, but I don't think this might work properly for now, right? Let's see, let's try to add a name. Let's add a name such as Apple, then the number, let's say 12, then let's add it. This does not work for now because we need to pass in the props here. All right, so let's see the props we have in this person form component. All right, so this should not really pose much of an issue. So for the person form component, let's copy all the props we have here. And then let's paste them here inside the person form components here. All right, so starting with the add name, this add name is going to be equal to add name, then adding a comma here. We come here, we copy new name to be equal to new name here. Let's remove this comma actually. So the next thing we want to do, we remove this comma as well. So for this handle name change, we copy it and we say handle name change is equal to handle name change. Okay, so let's move this comma here. All right, so we copy new number also and we put it here and we set it to be equal to new number. We remove this comma here and also we do the same thing for handle number change. All right, so let's save this and see. So we have these, right? We have these as properties for the person name and the values for the person form. Sorry, not person name, person form. Let's save this and see if that still works well. Let's try to add a name. So we said Apple 12, right? Let's click on add. So that works. All right. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, let's go to the instruction. We have numbers here. Of course, we have numbers here. Now we are going to be putting this filtered person, right, into its own component as well. Let's call it persons, just as it's given here, persons. So let's go to the top of our code, and then let's say const person equals this. All right, so here, what do we need to pass in the return statement? Inside the return statement, let's create a div first. Let's write div. Div is supposed to autocomplete. Why didn't it autocomplete? Let's try that again. Okay, it's not auto-completing. No problems. All right, so having written this, okay, that's because we are supposed to put a greater than sign here. So let's write div again. Yes, so it's auto-complete now. And then we come to this part of our code to cut this away. So here, we simply paste the code here, and then we save. Now we can see that there's a warning here, right, for the filtered person because we need to pass it as a parameter. So I'm going to copy this and then pass it as a parameter here, the structured, something like this. Then I save. Now this person's component should be passed into the return statement of our root component, which is the app component. So we are going to be coming down here underneath the numbers to do that. For numbers, let's give it h3. And once again, it doesn't have to be exactly what the tags are, right? But just make sure that the code implementation works well. All right, so before this, let's write the less than sign, then something like this. All right, let's go to our code. Okay, so at this point, our code breaks, and that is expected because we need to pass in the props of persons component. So let's come to these parts of the code here. This is the props here, and this props is going to be equal to itself here. So we paste this here, and then we say equal to this, right? This being a props and then this being a value, and this value is more like the filtered person where we have filtered person here. Okay, filtered person is here, right? So it's a state, right? And that state is the value we have here. So let's save this. So on saving this, we have everything properly rendered in our browser. Now, to be very sure that everything works fine, let's try to add a name and a number to our application. So let's call this brown and then blue, assuming it's a name of a person, and then let's give it the number 432-57567. Let's click on add. So this works, right? Now let's see if we can filter some of these names here. Let's look for a name such as Mary. Mary ends with R and Y. So let's type R. We have every name that has R, right? Then let's type Y. We have only Mary returned, right? Okay, so that shows that our application works very well, right? So I think this is what the instruction X is. This is what the instruction says for exercise 2.1, 2.10 rather. So our code runs well. All right, so at this point, I'll say thanks for staying to this point, right? Because I understand that it's actually a long one, and this can be confusing, kind of, right? So we just have to take our time to learn and learn, right, and become a master of this. All right, so with this, I'll say thanks for having me and see you in the next video. Bye.